So one of the things that I pride myself on is that my day job is as a management consultant. So basically people hire me to grow and turn around their businesses. But the point is people actually hire me to actually do stuff, not just tell them what they should do. It's a metaphor, but I've rolled up my sleeves for years and actually I like to get involved. But the thing is, when I do that, my hope is that because I do practice all these things all day, every day, I get better at them so that when I can help teach other people, they know that I don't just spout someone else's theory, I actually do it. And because I get paid by the hour sometimes to actually do this stuff, I have to be good at it because that's what pays for everything, that's what pays for my wages. So one of the big things that I wanted to talk about is basically with business development and sales, especially on the internet nowadays, what you're looking to do is build a relationship with people, with your audience, so that you can build trust, respect, authority, and expertise over time in a way that when you then share your product or service or offering, the people actually consider it. For one, they have an awareness of it, but they consider it and actually they recognize that it can be useful to them in a way that you can help them achieve their goal. One of the big things with business development and sales is how essentially you ideally want 8+ touch points that people often almost never buy off one interaction. But as you get to kind of 5, 8, 10, 12, what you hopefully do by that point is actually build trust, build awareness, build brand recognition, and actually just, the relationship that people can then choose to buy your products or not. And one of the places that I often start when doing that is on the internet. So if I was recently given a list of 60 different financial related firms from a client that they wanted to target. So the first thing that I do, I go on the internet and research them and look at what they're up to and, basically say hello, but actually understand where do they fit and what things could be potentially relevant to them. But one of the big things that whenever you do sales and business development, when you want to make a first approach and maybe send some stuff, is find their email. And finding people's emails on the internet is a skill, it's an art in itself. So I wanted to do a really quick segment just to talk about it, because actually, if you don't know where to start, it's tough. So actually, the first thing you want to do is research. So for your sales prospecting, which is what this is called, so when we reach out to people for the first time, the first thing you want to do is research them. What is the company? What does it do? Who works there? And ideally, you always want to aim and say hello as high up the chain as you can as a way to kind of start at the top. It just makes sense. It's so much easier and better for the boss to say to their subordinates, actually, this guy got in touch. Is this useful? Than the other way around, because people always think the boss will say no. So if you can, always start at the top. So basically, who are the company, what do they do, and who's the boss, who is the decision maker, and if you can, find a name. Then when you're looking to basically write the email, always think about what is it that you can share which is actually relevant to them. What is the topic that they're actually interested in? Nobody wants just a generic splurge of crap thrown into their inbox, because actually they'll ignore it. So what you want to do is reach out, but make it relevant to them. You want to demonstrate that you have knowledge and expertise on the topic, but actually that you have something that they might want. One of the top tips that I got probably about 10 years ago is you never want to show your best hand straight away. So what you want to do is get the other person interested, but essentially you want a next step. You want a call to action. You want to set up a call with them just for further relationship kind of building. Because if you can get someone on a call, you can ask them more questions, you can qualify them, you can understand what their drivers are, what their, why they might want to work with you before you give an offer. So often it's really important to say, look, I've got something I would like to share with you. Hopefully these are options which you might find interesting. If it's not for you, that's absolutely fine. But the point is you want to be friendly and approachable, but not pushy. You never want to kind of go past that point. And then likewise, with the email, keep it nice and short. If it's too long, people won't read it. Make it relevant. Ideally have a call to action, which is either to set up next steps for a phone call or a link that you can send them to, or whichever. But in terms of the actual email, this is the hard bit. So I'm going to talk about how I do it how you can do it. And actually, I'd love to know if you get involved in the comments or whichever, just your own personal techniques. So research, the first one is the name. So you want to look for the name of the boss or the decision maker. And what I tend to do is go onto the About Us or the team page and basically just go to the most senior person you can in the organization. So say his name is Phil Smith, to kind of keep this simple. Chances are, if you wanted to send Phil Smith an email, on some websites, and especially if it's a smaller business, they often will give you the email address, which is fantastic. In which case, job done. So take your really nice, snappy email with a nice header, nice and simple, nice and friendly, and send it to Phil Smith and you're sorted. But often it's not that simple. So you might have the name, and you also know the name of the company and the company's web address, because the web address is easy to find. So the next thing that you want to do is go into Google and what you want to do, if the guy's name is Phil Smith, use the speech marks, because what that does is that if you search on Google with the speech marks, it searches for the exact term on the internet to see if it pops up anywhere, rather than just close matches. So you then want to search for Phil Smith and then the company web address. So if it was me, it'd be Steve Pugh and then at roadmapmba.com. And if you were clever, you would do steve.pugh at roadmapmba.com, because obviously email addresses always have the at, then the web URL. So the web URL is quite easy to find. You know it's going to have the at, because basically that's what all email addresses do. And the trick is then to find the person's name and surname to basically then approach them. So this is where the trick is. And I have 6 different versions of web addresses that actually, things to look at when you're looking to do business sales email. So the most common one is first name dot second name at. So this would always be my go-to thing. So it'd be phil.smith at whatever the web URL is. That's the first one. Try that, and if it bounces and comes back, it didn't work. If it did work, fantastic. And the way to always check it is before you send it, put the full email address into Google with the speech marks. And sometimes what happens is it'll show up. So basically it'll either show you, yes, that's a real email address because actually they used it to register at a conference once and you can find that. Or if you can find someone else in the same organization's email, so it's janet.smith, you know that if it's janet.smith, chances are that phil.smith will also work. But the point is it's really useful to see other people's email addresses, even if it's not the person that you're looking to target. So if you check it on Google and either nothing comes up or you just think, sod it, I'm just going to try it, send an email, see what happens. If it bounces or if it doesn't work, especially in smaller companies, just try first name at then the URL. So for me, it might be steve at roadmapmba.com. Generally in smaller businesses, probably with less than 20 people, the founders almost always have first name at, because actually when they first set up, that's all they needed. So actually then try that one next. And then next we have 3 different options, which are all different things to try. But the point is the more experience that you get in business development and sales, you just learn to do these. And especially if the first one bounces, you know to try it. So the next one is down to initials. So it would be first initial dot second initial at. Try that, see if that works. Then you can also do FS. So the initials without the dot in the middle. And then actually, first initial dot surname, so that'd be s.pugh at roadmapmba.com. But the point is, whenever you're looking to do proactive business development and sales, being able to get people's email addresses is mega valuable. Being able to actually start that conversation, if you can write a good email and get a good hook and start that conversation, it's worth doing. But actually there's a real skill in doing your research, doing your homework to look at different organizations, because every organization actually has a different email setup. then actually it's really important to do your homework, do some research, find different organizations, and actually just use this as an opener to reach out to people and just see where it leads. What's really interesting is that occasionally you will send emails and sometimes they will bounce, but often if you then just go back and try the other ones, you will find one that works. If it doesn't bounce back, chances are it worked. But also, if you get an out of office reply, you definitely know it worked. And it's just that process of actually, it's how friendly, it was a way to find people's contact details, reach out if you believe you have something of value. And then actually, this is part of the process of business development and sales. But one of the top things which I wanted to highlight, which is new, and you never used to be able to do this, is that on Outlook, which is the Microsoft platform that I use to do email, nowadays, if you put in someone's email address, sometimes, not always, but sometimes, it either comes up with a little green circle, and this is before you've even sent the email, and that basically tells you that not only is that person the email address correct, but it also tells you that they're available, that on Microsoft products you can also set that circle to red if you're busy. And the idea is, I think it's a Teams thing, that you know not to interrupt someone when they're busy or whichever. But the point is, the green light is literally giving you a green light to say that you've got the contact details correct. This will go to the person. And that's a dream for sales and business development professionals, because actually it just shows you that the person does exist on the other end. And that's a major step forward that you never ever used to be able to do. Then for any sales or BD professional, you want to reach out once, see if they get back in touch. Then it's up to you on how you approach this, but then it would be a second contact point. For me, that would be a phone call or another email or a reach out on LinkedIn. I think phone call is probably best because the idea is you can ask, "Hi, Phil Smith. I just wanted to ask if you got my email last week. There's this thing that we think might be of interest. If you'd like to have a chat, please let me know." Voicemail is always great for that. And then likewise, you can also use tools such as voice notes on LinkedIn, just as a way to, you come across as a real person. We talk on the course about all the different tools and things that you can use to communicate to your best possible ability to build relationships with people. But the idea is it's that constant touch point. And then actually you want to look for 5 to 8 different interactions to really know if that relationship is going to go anywhere in terms of your business development and sales. But the thing on email, if you've never done it before or you're new to sales and you're looking to just research clients, check it out, do your research, search on Google, look for other email addresses that are from people in the same organization, see if that's relevant to you. Then actually just do some tests. There's no problem if you email someone and it bounces back because they didn't get it either. But what you're doing is learning to see what works, what doesn't work. And that's part of the game with business development and sales. If you catch this up on YouTube, please like and subscribe if you have any questions about business development and sales, entrepreneurship, running a business, etc. Please kind of feel free to reach out.